Speeding?
Speed on B.
Oh, the water bottle you want?
Yeah, it's good.
Let's put it down below.
Down below.
Down below. Down below.
Drink it.
Okay. Okay, are we action?
Speed on A.
Speed on B.
There you go.
Action.
Little town, it's a quiet village. Every day, like the one before. Little town full of little people waking up to say bonjour, bonjour, bonjour. There goes the baker with his tray like always. The same old bread and rolls to sell. Every morning just the same, since the morning that we came to this poor provincial town. Good morning, Bell.
You're good at that.
Oh, thanks.
You should do that professionally.
Well, yes, I've thought about it occasionally.
Exactly. I remember the first time I heard it, and I think you guys brought it out because Howard was so worried, and you probably were too, that we would hate it, want to start over again. But I was amazed.
I wasn't worried.
No,
That's why
well, you
Howard and I
knew.
were very different.
Was this the first
I'm the
song
one who
written?
walks in and says, there must be a pony here.
There's got to be a pony somewhere in here.
Yeah, exactly. But I remember writing them and Howard saying, he just felt like everyone's going to be listening to this and they're going to think we're out of our minds. I said, I think it's great, Howard. I think it's great.
What amazed me is in 4 minutes you introduced the main character and the villain and the town and the dynamics of it all and what she wants in life
everything.
in this little...
And that top thing where she goes, little town, it's a quiet village, which was very, very classical. You feel the sense of Cinderella and the sense of those early, and that magic. Yeah, I felt we were onto something really special when we wrote that.
I remember we came to Fishkill, New York. This was before the song got written, and we had storyboards and showed you the idea of Belle getting up and going to Market Day and that kind of stuff. But it was very, very rough. And what was that process of getting to that rough idea of a girl going to Market Day and meeting this guy to a song?
Howard was still very much in the saddle. So at the beginning of the process, Beauty and the Beast, Howard was the executive producer on Mermaid, and I believe he
on
was
Beauty also, yeah.
on Beauty. And so I wouldn't say I was simply along for the ride, but Howard was very much in the driver's seat in terms of the dramaturgical issues, and he had thought a lot of this out. As the project progressed and Howard became more and more ill, and of course everyone knows he never even lived to see the movie.
I don't even know how you and Howard wrote. Did he write lyrics first?
It's always been a combination of music first and lyric first, and getting in the room, and we're seeing the cottage, and I listening to that, I think he gave me lyric first on that. Little town, it's a quiet village. He probably said, what kind of a vamp would you go into? And I probably gave him that kind of basic feel, and he said, that feels good. It's hard to reconstruct in a lot of cases. Some really are etched into my brain, the more painful ones. And Belle was not one of the more painful ones. It was actually, it really flowed out pretty naturally. We knew that it was going to be very classical, very sort of almost, Mozartian. And then we were going to have the big bombastic for Gaston. I think, in the architecture of any musical, that you pretty much map out the moments when you're first conceiving how you're going to musicalize something. So we knew we want the big production number, Be Our Guest.
Be our guest. Be our guest. Put our service to the test. Tie your napkin.
So you're going to do the song Be Our Guest, and you go, what style am I going to write it in? And I've heard you mention...
Oh, this story, yeah.
Yes.
Well, Howard said... okay, we have to write this song. It should be something like, we're serving you dinner or Be Our Guest. I said, you know what? I'm going to give you just a dumb piece of music. It'll be a throwaway. And then write the lyric to it, and that'll be the form. And then when you come back, I'll write the real music. So I sat down and literally just said, da-da-dum, ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum, ba-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I said, go and be well.
Good luck, yeah.
And he may have said, if there's a middle section, or else he took the first part, wrote that other part, and then I added it. And he came back with a lyric, and I said, great, now I'll give you the real music. And so I sat down with Be Our Guest. I said, okay, great. So, Be our guest, be our guest, be our guest, be our guest, put our service to the test. Tie a napkin around your neck, Siri, and we'll... No.
I didn't know.
More!
I had no idea.
Be our guest, be our... everything was all up for grabs. All I knew is I wasn't going to be that dumb piece of music I had first given him.
Yeah, sure, that was
gonna
just a
go
sketch,
better
yeah.
than that.
Right.
And after hitting my head against the wall for about an hour, I said, you know what? I think it has to be da-da-dum, 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 ba-da-da-dum.
Beef ragout, cheese soufflé, pie and pudding on flambé. We'll prepare and serve with flair a culinary cabaret.
And that song is a list song where he's going to go through and name, and you're supposed to pay a lot of attention to the lyrics. And when you know you're writing a song where the lyrics are going to be really focused on the cleverness and the wordiness of them, how does it change what you're going to be doing?
You want to be as out of the way of that lyric as possible. You don't want to be throwing in, listen, you want to be inventive, but your inventiveness has to come in doing an homage to a style.
Which also was going against the trend of what was going on in theater at the time, where everyone wanted to be Sondheim.
Right.
And did you... Was this...
And ironically, of course, his musical vocabulary now is as much, an anachronistic form as any of these are. You could easily play a Sondheim
type song.
Yeah.
Well, actually, the closest to a Sondheimian tune was Human Again.
I'll be cooking again, be good looking again, with a mademoiselle on each arm.
I'll be courting again, chic and sporting again.
Which should call several husbands alarm.
I'll hop down off this shelf and toot sweet be myself. I can't wait to be human again.
Human Again it probably went through the biggest grinder of any song in the movie and ultimately ended up not being in the movie, which was kind of sad. And it was just hard to fit in the story. I remember from our kind of filmmaker point of view, it was plenty of plot in it, but it was just hard to take the original demo, which was long.
It's 9 minutes long.
9 minutes long, and try to put that in a 85-minute movie was just taking over too much real estate.
Well, there was another issue, which was supposedly seasons are passing and time is moving on, and Maurice is still lost in the woods.
Yeah, he's really dumb.
Maurice is now
really...
like wearing a loincloth, eating berries somewhere,
He's eating berries,
I guess.
he falls into a well, and then he gets out, and then he steps in a bear trap, and it just went on forever.
But then we figured out how to do it.
Yeah.
When we put it into the Broadway show, we simply took out the time passage part.
It's a beautiful song. Eventually, taking a hit off of what you did for the Broadway show, we put it into that special edition that we did for the movie, because it fit somehow. You solved the problem that we couldn't.
Yeah.
So...
And did it fit in the exact same spot it was always going to be?
It came in, the song that replaced Human Again was Something There.
Something There, yeah.
There might be something there, and that's a song that came in really at the 11th hour. I mean, Howard was very, very sick when you guys wrote that song, I remember.
Yes, Howard was, he wasn't even able to make it to the studio.
Yeah.
And we had that section of it, new and a bit alarming. And Paige was going, new and a bit alarming. And Howard would listen, and he said, he unfortunately couldn't speak.
Yeah.
Everyone had to get very quiet. And he said, tell her, Streisand, new and a bit alarming. And that's what's in the movie.
New and a bit alarming. Who'd have ever thought that this could be?
And let's talk a little bit about Gaston, which is just a incredibly
hilarious song. Yeah, when I remember Howard putting that lyric in front of me, and I could just not barely get through it. It's a certain style of Howard Ashman lyric. It's a drinking song. No one. You know what? Does anybody have the lyrics?
I did bring them.
Richard, thank you. See, this is management for you.
It is.
Like,
Do you always carry lyrics to Gaston with you?
Yes, because you never know.
when somebody's going to be sitting at the piano and want
And
them.
I often need to remember what rhymes with antlers. from
Exactly.
Decorative.
Yeah. Don't we all?
No one's slick as Gaston. No one's quick as Gaston.
No one's got a swell cleft in his chin like Gaston.
As a specimen, yes, I'm intimidating.
I wanna die like Gaston.
Howard was very, very funny. He was a very funny person.
Yeah.
A very, very funny lyricist.
We got those lyrics in it was like a gift from God. When you're an animator and you're looking for visual things to do and entertainment, we couldn't stop laughing. And the storyboard guys and the animators just could not wait to dig into that, just in terms of animation and entertainment value.
The strangest song in the show is the mob song, because it's something that would normally...
Yeah, Kill the Beast.
I always like that song.
I do too, but it's
Kill the
almost
Beast.
like underscore that is sung by the characters. You could have easily not been sung, and there could have been a grab the pitchfork montage.
Yep.
In order for a musical to be balanced, you've got it's like you have to bolt something down. You need a bolt here, and you need a bolt there. There had to be a song in that spot of the movie to really hold down the idea that this was a musical going into the last third of the movie. But that song was actually, I found it delightful.
Can we hear a little of it?
Sure. Where's the lyric? Give me the give me the lyric.
Okay.
But my favorite line is 50 Frenchmen can't be wrong.
Which is from, that's an old song from the 20s, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. Hearts ablaze, banners high, we go marching into battle, unafraid, although the danger just increased. Raise the flag, sing the song, here we come, we're 50 strong, and 50 Frenchmen can't be wrong. Let's kill the beast! Kill the beast! Kill the beast! Kill the beast!
Only Howard would put a line like that in the climax when you're going to kill the hero of the movie, and he sticks in a reference to a 20s Cole Porter musical.
Yes, why
for the
not?
3 people that would know that. Or he has that Macbeth line in there, screw your courage to the sticking place.
That's what that's from. I'm so uncultured.
Well, no, it's Kirk Wise, actually, who is well-read. He said, oh, that's from Macbeth. Really? So he's throwing in these little references for the adults along the way while the kids are just excited for it.
You were nominated for 3 Oscars in the same category for Best Song.
For song,
Right.
Belle, Be Our Guest, and Beauty and the Beast.
Right.
Was there concern, we may have just split the vote up?
Yep.
Of course. Luckily, because there was one song that was the single, that probably helped a great deal. And it was a title song. So we were aided by that. Remember at the Golden Globes, we won.
Yeah.
Best.
We won Best Picture at the Golden Globes.
I mean, I watched Don up there. It's like, what a night that was. Oh, my God.
Yeah, that was so unexpected, because to win, now there's a category for animation at the Golden Globes and the Oscars, and back then you're just a movie, so you had to stand up next to Silence of the Lambs and all these other films.
But the songs were not nearly as good in Silence of the Lambs.
They were less catchy. That's true. Yeah, there's a couple of them, but it was really a surprise to have somebody say, "Oh yeah," and the Best Musical Comedy Picture, Beauty and the Beast, was shocking. Yeah.
We haven't talked about Beauty and the Beast.
Oh. Yeah, but that's not a major song. So we can talk about the mob song, but what's Beauty and the Beast? Oh, right.
Yeah, we should. We should probably stop and talk about that.
That was the hardest song to write in the whole movie.
Beauty?
We tortured her for that. And one day I found this cassette tape, and I was going to just, record over it. And before I hit record, I said, you know what? Why don't I just listen to what's on here? And it was 2-sided tape of Howard and me working our way slowly and methodically towards Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, you're kidding.
Howard was just, was using a major filter of, I want this to be a very unique piece of music. Someone like me, a composer who can be very facile, I benefit from collaborators who will say, that's great, that was easy for you, let's what else is there? The process of writing Beauty and the Beast was done at a time where Howard was dying. And he knew he was dying. At the beginning of that period, he knew, but none of us knew. And then gradually, we began to be aware that his days were numbered. Once it was sort of out in the open, it's easier to deal with. But in the time where he knew and we didn't know, his temper and his patience was... I saw him take, back in those days, we used to work with cassettes, and we had the Walkman Pro. Walkman Pro was about a $500, really state-of-the-art piece of equipment. And he had a little tiny microphone that was cheap, that was just intermittent. And I saw him get so frustrated when he wanted to tape something, and he smashed it against, and I started to go, he said, don't touch it, don't go near it. And he went over and he stomped it.
Oh, no.
There were times we were working together where I would say, I need to take a break for a second, and then I would go out and I would cry. Or I'd hold my kids, I was just like, the pain was so palpable working with him. It was very, very difficult.
it would pop out once in a while. And when it did, we thought, oh, he's just being a diva, and he's won an Oscar or something. But then we found out the truth, and it was pretty devastating. But like you said, in a sense, it was easier to deal with because we wanted to take care of him. We wanted to make things easy for him, and that's why we ended up moving back to New York for all those weeks to work with you guys.
Yeah.
We literally picked up and moved to a hotel and would pitch storyboards out of a conference room where normally they sell sump pumps and things like that. We're in there working on Beauty and the Beast just to be close to Howard so he didn't have to travel and fly. And it's quite a time. And the Beauty and the Beast song, also, not only was it a hit inside the movie with Angela's version, but then I remember Chris Montan going out to try to find singers for this song.
Well, of course, the idea always was that there was going to be a pop song. And there was this new artist from Canada, Celine Dion.
Right, who nobody had ever heard of
Nobody
before.
had ever heard of, and I listened to her album, and I was absolutely blown away. And Peebo Bryson. Peebo was perfect. I wasn't involved with the recording, I just heard it. And it was the first time I'd heard one of my songs turned into pop ear candy, which is an amazing experience. Because the first time you hear it, sometimes you don't know what to make of it. All you know is you want to hear it again, and again, and again, and again. But it was quite thrilling. It was a very, very, very heady time. I mean, all in that period, here we had won the 2 Oscars for Little Mermaid. We had written Beauty and the Beast. 6 months before it's out, Howard passes away. I'm working also on this other project called Newsies, and literally going out to the recording session for Newsies on the day Howard dies, turn around, come back to Howard's funeral. Well, everything is so in motion. We go to the Oscars, and Aladdin is now coming out of its development back into being born. This single comes out and is racing up the charts. And then I hear we've got 3 song nominations and Best Score nomination, and we were getting all the. There was just you don't really have the tools to really process that stuff except to go. What a ride!
We won the lottery. It was like a fairy tale.
What
coming
a
true.
ride! And the fact that it continued. So it was an amazing time of growth. And I came out of this period after really being a catalyst to Howard. And I developed into somebody who had to take the lead dramaturgically and had to be the spokesman for structure and for a lot of broad decisions. And so it forced me sort of out of my shell, if I ever was in a shell.
I'm sure you were in a shell.
I've seen it, and it's quite something. We talked a lot about Beauty and the Beast, the song, and while we wrap up here for selfish reasons, and I'm sure you agree with me, can you play it for us?
Sure thing.
So something
like this.
Goes a little something like this. Tale as old as time, true as it can be. Barely even friends, then somebody bends unexpectedly. Just a little change, small to say the least, both a little scared, neither one prepared. Beauty and the Beast, ever just the same, ever a surprise, ever as before, ever just as sure as the sun will rise. Tale as old as time, tune as old as song, bittersweet and strange, finding you can change, learning you were wrong. Certain as the sun, rising in the east, tale as old as time, song as old as rhyme, Beauty and the Beast. Tale as old as time, song as old as rhyme, Beauty and the Beast.
Alan Menken. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alan Menken, ladies and gentlemen.